The lens, and by lens, I mean these things over here, the lens through which you look at conversion optimization really matters, because similar to the glasses I'm wearing, the focal point is going to be different for different prescriptions, which means that I can focus in whether it's short distance or long distance, and things like that. It varies, right, based on the prescription. And the same principle applies for conversion optimization. Now, some of these lenses are things that marketers understand and they use quite effectively. For example, mobile versus desktop, right? We know that we need to, well, I would argue that we don't, because a lot of times mobile version of a web page is just the responsive version of the desktop page. And I would argue that the psychology of the buyer is entirely different. So the lens should be different. But some of them, like paid search, right? Paid search is something that I think marketers really understand. So the lens through which they look at the paid search landing page clearly has been formulated based on that intent. And I think we do a great job there. But in this video, I want to actually talk about two more types of lenses that marketers don't use at all that I think are hugely powerful. The first one is whether the buyer is a rational actor or an irrational actor. And so I'm talking about the end buyer here. And this has profound implications. If you assume that the buyer of your product is rational, then you will write copy in an entirely different way with a entirely different outcome, versus if you were to assume that the buyer is irrational. The other thing I would say, the other lens that again we don't focus on, which I think is huge missed opportunity, is what are we optimizing for? And there are multiple options here. Are we optimizing for increasing the average order value? Are we optimizing for are we optimizing for them to discover another product on our website even though they landed on this page? Or are we optimizing for the first sale? And so for me, one of that lens of optimizing for the first sale, first time buyers, is, if I could get it tattooed, I would get it tattooed. It's that important to me. And I think it has a profound implication. If you are trying to optimize for average order value, it leads you down a completely different path, versus if you are trying to optimize for a first time buyer. And I'll just give you an idea. It's not just a simple distinction. It's a huge philosophical distinction. Because if you are optimizing for a first time buyer, you are really now hypersensitive to the anxieties of a first time buyer, because that's how you optimize for them. And so you write copy from that perspective. A first time buyer doesn't even know who the brand is. So you actually have to have an explanation for who you are and what you stand for before you sell your product. And so clearly all of these things would not have come about if you weren't putting on the lens of optimizing for the first time buyer. So I would encourage all marketers to, before you kind of jump into optimization, to put on the right pair of glasses and then start the process. Thanks.